Hello, welcome to episode 5 of Sleep, Pray, Drug. I am here today with my beautiful sisters, Maureen,
Hi.
Colleen,
Hello.
and Megan.
Hey.
And I am Bridget. And we are back this week with a topic that we kind of went on a walk and discussed what's next for us as we have been still navigating the grieving process with our Da and what life looks like post his passing. And it brought up quite a bit. But one thing that we have all landed on that we are all navigating is parenting our adult children. So if you don't know by looking at us, you probably don't, that we are in our 50s and our 60s. Oh, wait, not 60s. Ooh, just turned 60.
Barely turned.
Barely. And our children are all adults. And I think as we are navigating adulting ourselves, let me speak for myself, I'm definitely navigating what it means to be an adult. Parenting adult children at this day and age is a beautiful thing, and it can also come with a lot of extra challenges and complications, especially in the world that we all find ourselves in this year of our Lord 2026. So we came up with some questions, and we're just going to kind of popcorn how we are navigating being the parents of adult children that are finding their way. So, you ready, ladies?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So, the first question, given that we introduced ourselves in this podcast as being daughters in a kind of strict Irish Catholic upbringing, I wanted to know if you raised your kids in the faith, in the Catholic faith, and if you did, why? And if you didn't, why not? Or what aspects of religion or spirituality? So we're starting off with an easy breezy,
Something
lighthearted
really
topic,
light.
something
Yeah.
really light.
I'll just jump in. I, for the most part, raised all 4 of my kids in the Catholic faith. A huge part of that was because, like Beeb said, we were all raised Catholic. I went to Catholic elementary school and then kind of bounced back and forth between Catholic and regular high school. My husband at the time, the father of my kids, he was born and raised in the Catholic faith as well. His mom was a pretty regular practicing Catholic, went to church every week. So when my kids were young, that was kind of what we did. We knew we wanted our kids to be baptized. All 4 of our kids were baptized. All of them made their first communion. And things kind of shifted a bit when they reached high school age, and because of just life circumstances, that's as far as we got. So baptism, Holy Communion, reconciliation. And then as the kids got older, we just kind of, stepped back and let them kind of navigate what they wanted to do. If they wanted to check out other churches, other religions, if they even wanted to continue going to church or not. So, yes. And it was, like I said, heavily influenced by being married to a strong Catholic. And so that definitely played a part in terms of why we wanted to raise them in the faith.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to share that you also taught a particular class for 2 years?
I did. I believe it was 4th and 5th grade. So for 2 years, something in the Catholic Church is religious education or catechism classes. And I believe it was my daughter
Okay.
was attending classes that I taught. I think I did 3rd grade one year and 4th grade the next year. So I taught religious ed classes for 2 years. And yeah, it was different. It made me really kind of question just the material itself, like my own struggling with some of that and thinking, how in the heck am I going to get these third and fourth grade kids to grasp and understanding. So it was very interesting for sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I can jump in now. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say that I'm coming in on the opposite end of the pendulum because when I had my son, I didn't have him baptized or brought up in the Catholic Church. We went to various churches growing up, but as he was growing up, but didn't, follow one in particular. And so I felt like it was inappropriate for me to baptize him into a church that I wasn't a practicing part of because I haven't been a practicing
Mhm.
Catholic for all my adult years. And I would say it was important for me to instill in Keenan the idea of that there has to be more than this in terms of like a higher power or spirit
Mhm.
beyond what we see, just look at the universe and how creation and all that. So if you were to ask him, he would say, I'm sure he would say that he believes in God, but that he doesn't agree with any type of organized religion.
Hmm.
And so I'm happy with that. I'm happy that he knows that we do have a creator and he's, sees himself in that and the beauty of it all. But um, you know, again, religion seems to be like a human construct. And
Mhm.
so that's what he would say. Yeah. Go ahead, Dolly.
Well, I was very involved in the Catholic Church as I was growing up. I did the same thing as Mo, and I went to Catholic elementary school, and a couple of my high school years were at a Catholic high school. I was very involved in things like communion and reconciliation and going through all of the catechism classes and going on Catholic church retreats and very involved in the church. And then when I got married, my husband wasn't Catholic, but we started out in the Catholic Church. My two eldest boys were both baptized through the Catholic Church. And then we just decided kind of middle years of our marriage that we wanted to try something different. So we went to a mega church that was just a non-denominational Christian church, and we really kind of found a home there. And the kids found a home there, and it just really fed our souls and our spirits and just seemed to be a good place for us at the time. And up till this day, I still have my three boys that are involved in non denominational Christian churches. All of my kids believe in God and practice in the way that fits their family life best.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I will say that before having my son, I was definitely intending on all things Catholic. I mean, when I was a young child, I wanted to be a nun, believe it or not. And I had a lot of, I don't know if you all remember, but I had a lot of just kind of, gosh, borderline obsessions with the Catholic
Mm-hmm.
religion and, prayers and rosaries. And I attended a Catholic high school and would go to daily mass during lunch. But I really don't know that I knew why, like the why behind it all. It was just kind of everyone else. That
Mhm.
was the scene that was set.
Mhm.
Um, I divorced when my son was 2.5. And I remember even that decision was massive because I was still like, you don't divorce in the Catholic faith, regardless of whatever is happening, you work it out. But as Khalil was getting older, I remember um, a lot of the conversations. That's when like the big kind of sex scandal with the priests and all these things that were in the news, but not ever like kind of massive issues. But there was no really sounding board to talk about what was going on. It was kind of just like tuck it away and
Mm-hmm.
keep going to church. Even within the church, I don't really feel like it was ever really explored or acknowledged or talked about. And that kind of, my gears started going like, what's happening here? Like, are the people within this building living the life, embodying the behaviors and practices that I want my son to learn? And I still did, when we were in a confidential shelter, I did go back to the church. I was going to daily mass. Khalil's been to many masses, and he went to an all boys Catholic high school his freshman year. And he gave it 1 year and did not feel really comfortable there, quite frankly. He talked a lot about classism and the money breakdown and the emphasis on recruitment and sports, and it just kind of felt icky to him. So this brought up a lot of questions within our relationship around spirituality and faith. He had a theology class, and we would talk about all of these things. But throughout, the through line, like Meg said, was always a spirituality behind that, like what is our spirit? There's something bigger than this physical body here. And to kind of cultivate that within Khalil, and he definitely has. Like when we went to Thailand, he wanted to go to many of the Buddhist temples, and he would kneel in prayer and just feeling the people and the presence of something bigger than him. We do blessings before fights. I sage the house, like things that some in the Catholic faith might really kind of cringe at, but I actually pray Catholic prayers while I'm blessing our home. It's definitely kind of the DNA throughout the teachings of Jesus. And while I was living with you, Dolly, we went to those non-denominational Christian churches, which I felt a whole different level of freedom and
Mhm.
expression through music and talking about God. And yeah, I mean, today, Khalil, he has definitely connected with his spirituality. He wears the St. Michael pendant and he prays and all of the things we talk about it. He definitely knows that there is a God and something much larger than his understanding at work behind all of these things. So it's just fascinating, kind of the trajectories. I think it gets a little more complicated as your kids get older, and all of the tenets like in the catechism, especially I would say around the teenage years when teens are exploring and how to incorporate those tenets. And it's kind of all or nothing was my experience in the Catholic faith.
Mhm.
You just talk about sex, you don't have sex, and that end of story.
Mhm.
And to have a child that you're really like we were living in such close quarters to and communicating with, I don't know that any of us have really talked about those conversations that we've had with our kids, because I definitely feel the pull of my upbringing and what was taught, and struggle with those conversations, have struggled with Khalil along those lines. So I've tried to pull in other adult males, quite frankly,
Mhm.
that to help,
Mhm.
assist in those conversations and
Right.
whatnot along the lines of faith. Did you all struggle having those like teenage years, like navigating what one is taught and then what you're presented with in real life?
Definitely. Fortunately, my boys are pretty good communicators. So, and then of course, you put, a divorce scenario in the mix. And my youngest was pretty young when we were divorced. So he and his dad, even the next oldest one, extremely limited conversations about at least sexual stuff. So yes, it's been me kind of having those discussions, but like I said, they're good communicators, and especially with the youngest, it's been pretty direct. And there's still a part of me that feels a little awkward just because we never had those conversations growing up. My thinking behind it was always I'd rather him find out from me rather than through kids on the playground at school. He especially is good about asking questions and wanting information. So I'm grateful for that because that's made it a little easier that we can have open conversations.
Mhm.
What about you girls and your boys?
I feel like when they were younger, just based on where I was in my faith and still being kind of pulled back to the Catholic religion, that some of those things that were instilled with me were what would have come out in those conversations, more like the staying abstinent till you get married, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, the just modesty and all of those things that we were taught. But now that my kids, I mean, once they got to their teen years, especially my boys, for some reason, have been really open and easy to talk to about all of those things. And
Mhm.
we all, to this day, still have a very open communication about everything. And I think the biggest thing with the church was just that, from talking to my boys especially, is just that there wasn't a certain building or structure that they felt that they needed to know about God or praise God or any of those things. And that's kind of my feeling as well, is that there's so many, the Catholic Church can be such a strict environment. And you're right, Bridget, when we started going to the non-denominational churches, there was just a whole other sense of freedom there
Yeah.
to express yourself and to learn about God and to be spiritual. And that's kind of what the boys and my daughters have embraced more in their later years.
Yeah.
Mhm. Well, I decided, shocker, to do something totally opposite of how we were raised. Because not to put a judgment one way or another, but I just recall feeling a lot of shame myself around the whole topic of sexuality. And so
Mhm.
I thought, I'm going to do things different and see what happens, because I don't want Keenan to feel that way, to have
Yeah.
shame around something that's really natural.
Yeah.
So I started talking to him, and it was just me. I was a single mom. So it was all my responsibility to talk to him and educate him. So I started at a young age and did, age appropriate stuff, information, but it was just very like, let's normalize talking about this stuff. And so
Mhm.
then, therefore, by the time he was a teenager, I feel like he didn't come to me and just open up about everything going on in his life, but he was more likely to talk to me
Yeah.
about, some things that were happening with his girlfriend or around topics that would relate to sexuality. Um, and so even now when we talk, about the future and them having children and all this, it's very open, and I'm glad for that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like we could do a whole podcast on just this,
Yeah.
like really conversations that we're confronting, and then like what it is to, kind of defend your decisions as a parent with one's own parents, because then that becomes, as close as we all are, then that
Mhm.
becomes a whole nother level of kind of guilt and confusion and trying. I mean, I think we've all worked through it though in really, really beautiful
Mhm.
ways. And I'm super grateful that I was able to observe all of you, because I would have been a floundering if I were the first, Mo. Like, what do I do? But I
Mhm.
saw how you all made decisions that were different. And that was really helpful for
Mhm.
me. It saved me in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to go with one of Moe's questions. How do you best support your adult child without enabling and coddling in order to promote independence, confidence, and self-sufficiency? Or do
Mm.
you not? Do you not? Do you enable and coddle? Because I'm working through
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
Is this mostly to do with financial assistance, Mo? Is that kind of the angle you were coming from?
Um, it can apply to other areas too, I think.
Yeah.
Just navigating life, making decisions about work or job opportunities or education or financial or their relationships.
Again, another episode.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard. I
Mhm.
mean, because you know, none of us like to see our kids struggle and fail and be hurt and angry, and not know or not have a plan for what they want to do. So I have struggled with that. Plus, I've seen a few, I won't specify family per se, but like adult men that had very enabling mothers, and they are struggling with just basic life skills, even as adult men, that were likely a result of having parents that totally enabled them, rescued them from every situation they found themselves in. So I always think of that because I don't want my sons to end up, 45, 50 years old and still struggling with some basic life stuff. But yeah, I tend to be a rescuer. I like to fix things, fix situations. And it's really, really challenging for me to just completely like wash my hands of a situation and let the cards fall, let
Yeah.
the repercussions of, a bad decision happen. So I think I've gotten much better. I mean, I don't completely back out, but I'm not completely in there to save every single mistake that they make. You all might beg to differ on that based on your observations, but in general, I think I've gotten a little bit better. But yeah, whether it's financial or just, if they're struggling in a relationship, just trying to find that balance between offering support and letting them navigate that process. But it's hard.
Yeah.
Boundaries. Boundaries are hard sometimes to set and stick with. But I know
Mhm.
that's what's in their best interest in the long run. So go ahead, Dolly.
Yeah. Oh, I was just going to say, as far as helping my kids at this point in their lives, I don't feel like there's many areas that they ask me for help. Um,
Mm.
although they do know that I'll support them in anything, and I've made that very clear over the years, and we all have a really good relationship because of it. If they need financial help, if I can do it, I will do it. I'll do anything I can to help them. They know there's limits to that, and sometimes I need to be better at setting boundaries. I know we went through a situation recently where my eldest son went through a breakup, and that was really, really hard on him. And it was really, really hard on me because he was calling me every day. And, I have to limit myself on those conversations sometimes because it can add a whole lot of stress on me
Yeah.
that I
Mhm.
struggle with. So I think that's maybe where I need to set the boundaries is when it comes to situations like that, not not feeding into the stress and the sadness and everything else you feel for your kids when they're going through such a hard time. So I think that's where
Yeah.
I need to just be better about setting the boundaries.
The other factor too, I
Mhm.
was just thinking that Bridget and I both have our kids at home, which
Right.
kind of
Mhm.
can switch
Makes it
things up
different.
potentially compared to all of them being, on their
Yeah.
own and doing okay financially.
Yeah. And mine
There's
are
some
all at a distance from me too. So that makes it harder to be there for them when they all live, miles and miles away.
Mhm.
But I
Yeah.
still do whatever I can to support them, whether it's a phone call or, if it's a visit that they really, really need, then I try to make that happen. Just
Mhm.
whatever I can do to support them.
Yeah. What
hmm
about you, Meg?
I would say that with my son, in terms of finding the balance of helping him out or allowing him to kind of take the reins, so to speak. Of course, I do what I can. And I do still pay like two bills for him. I pay car insurance and never mind, I pay one bill, car insurance.
What?
And he pays the rest of he wanted to take over his own phone bill. That's what I was paying.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one, excuse me, guys, that's one area that I can help. But even the times that he's needed like financial assistance, I set it up so that he pays me back because I want him to
Mm-hmm.
know that's what will happen in life. That if you need help, I'm happy to help you, but I need you to show me that you can help yourself as well and just be responsible enough to pay me back even if it's a plan, right? Like over a
Mm-hmm.
certain amount of months, give him a little more time. And as far as like relationship and whatnot, the biggest thing that I've found with my son is he's trying to figure out like what direction to go in life, where to go with his relationship, in terms of making the next step. And I found the most helpful thing I can do is just listen. Because oftentimes
Yeah.
he's not coming to me for a solution, but he's coming to me just to have somebody to listen to him. So
Mm-hmm.
we do a lot of that where, he'll stop by and he'll have something on his mind. And I just find that I do my best with him and of course I'll offer some advice, but I try not to have it come from a lectury,
Yeah.
space. Just like he's young and he's trying to figure out, you know, himself and his world and life. And that's a lot when you're 22 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Yeah.
I found that being a friend can be a good thing as long as you're not too much of a friend. You know what I mean? That balance there between
Yeah.
listening, being there for him, but not enabling.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind
Yeah.
of what I do. What about you, Beebs?
I'm just sitting here thinking about the dynamic of the parents at the time as well, because I think a lot of this starts really young. And I go back to having the benefit of watching you all navigate, kind of seeing, what works. And in my own life, I think oftentimes resilience and hardship, it's a kind of shitty lesson I've learned, but I think that those lessons are the hardest while in it. And I know that. And I know that the learning from that is so important. And I still find myself trying to alleviate any suffering still, while knowing that that is the biggest teacher. Like
Mm-hmm.
sometimes falling really hard and having to crawl your way up and out is exactly, I mean, more often than not. This was our first episode, like suffering is one of the greatest teachers. And I'm thinking as primarily raising my son alone with the influence of his dad more as as a young man, but early on that I was really trying to prevent him from failing in particular. Like that was a my issue thing because I
Mm-hmm.
remember even if we were outside like playing basketball and if I were winning, the level of frustration that I would see in this little person was overwhelming to him, and I was like, oh, this is something I'm definitely going to have to expose him to. Just let him figure it out because that's the process of it. But I think I've kind of chosen the areas that I will 100%. If it's cooking meals, like I said, I oftentimes am up. If my son will come out and be like, hey, can I have fried chicken and it's 9 o'clock and I know it's a 2 hour process and I have to grate Parmesan and garlic and But to me, like I know that these times are fewer and far between. He's 19. So I kind of hold on to that. I also created that from the time he was an infant. I would massage his feet at bedtime. And yes, there's times at 19, will you rub my feet before? He might be horrified he's saying that, but it's kind of become a joke. A lot less now, but I kind of look at those as he's gained his independence more as like I'm almost kind of grasping for those opportunities to support him, which lets me know that I think I did some things right because he really is eager to. He's very disciplined. He's kind of a go-getter. He's got a lot that he's looking ahead to. So I feel like I did some things right, but I definitely feel that tug in every situation. I mean, I still pay the phone bill. He's asked if he can stay, like graduated high school last summer and it's like he's told me I'm not ready to move out yet. Is that okay? There are conversations that
Mhm.
that we're having as he's trying to gain his independence. And it's hard. I realize like my association with struggle is definitely amplified when I see him struggle. Like I have to watch my own reactions because I am a savior like you, Mo. My tendency
Mhm.
is to run in and not have him feel anything difficult, but that
Yeah.
is unavoidable, especially when there's relationships that fall apart or classes that one doesn't get into or programs. And there's those I have found, though, have been the most profound connecting conversations I've had with my son are where he's taken a loss
Mhm.
and has had to regroup and figure it out.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
but yeah, I think boundaries is probably something that we're all still trying to figure out. I was talking in therapy about that today.
All right. Back to
Okay.
the next
Okay, back
question.
to the fun one.
Yes. So, what kind of activities do you enjoy doing with your adult children?
Well, my boys and I like to go to the gun range together. That was lots of fun. We did that twice
Pew
when I was
pew.
in Arizona. Yeah. One of my sons and I go hiking quite a bit. He loves to hike. So we get out when he was living in Arizona. There were all kinds of great hiking spots around there that we would go to. And my girls, whenever one of my daughters in town, we always have to go over to the beach. We love to go to the beach
Mhm.
together and other little road trips. She loves road trips. So we do road trips together all the time. She likes to go to concerts. So we try to do that together. And yeah, whenever I have time to see any of them, that's what we do.
Yeah, that's kind of similar to my kids and I. We concerts and music is a huge thing we enjoy together. Trips to the beach. Next week, actually, I'm going with the 3 boys for 2 nights. Yeah, that'll be fun. But hiking, road trips, sometimes cooking. Riley loves to grill, so he'll grill and, I'll make a couple things and cooking. Going to movies on occasion, not very often anymore, but, yeah, kinda similar things. And with my daughter, sometimes, when I get up, to Alaska to visit her, we'll go do a pedicure, go and get coffee,
Hmm.
similar to what Dolly does with her girls,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah, I
yeah.
forgot about that. That's what Alicia and I like to do together is go get pedicures and manicures and have coffees.
Mhm.
And yeah, we do that too.
It's girl time.
Yeah.
Mhm.
How about you, Maggie?
Well, because I live close by to Keenan, I find it's the little things that I really enjoy doing with him. Like even tomorrow, for example, we're gonna go have a afternoon adult beverage and then go to the record store together. Like little things like that, just hanging out, visiting, going shopping, going to have a cocktail now that he's old enough, little things.
It's cool.
I look forward to that. My child is 19, but I can't imagine. I mean, I can. That'll be fun. But with Khalil, I'm like his Muay Thai sparring partner, which I have kind of a love-hate relationship. So anytime he comes home from training, it's like a full kitchen breakdown because he's coaching now. So he'll do his lesson plan. Like last night, he was showing me all these different combos and whatnot. So we do a lot of his coaching prep and training together. We took a trip to Thailand together, and I realized he is the best travel partner I think that I could ever imagine. We were there for a month, and it was just incredible. And we're hoping to do another trip together because I turned 50 this year.
Woohoo!
And yeah, woo! He's also a foodie. So since he was young, there's like 2 or 3 spots around town that he loves to, you know, actually go into and eat at. And then we watch Seahawks games every football season. That's a big thing that he'll go and then we'll record them and we'll watch them together even afterwards again. So there's so much stuff that that I enjoy doing with that young man. Yeah. Yeah.
I wonder if those activities will evolve and change over time.
Yeah, I imagine they will. I'm sure some will stay the same because there's some things that we all just really enjoy doing. But
Yeah.
I was just going to say, I think when you're, excuse me, when you're living with your child, you have more accessibility, versus when they're not with you, the events almost seem more like special occasion style.
yeah,
You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
Where we get to do it every single day.
Every day.
That's why I say
Yeah.
love hate because there's
Yeah.
times that he'll come in, drop his bag, he's super sweaty, and I'm like, he'll just start teeping me or kicking. I'm like, I am not. This is
Yeah.
no, like no. And cooking, I would add that Khalil loves to cook, and that's some of the most fun. Is just putting music on and prepping food and making a meal together. But he did invite me, he just got accepted into this firefighter cadet program. And he said, Mom, will you come to orientation? Like we can bring someone. And I was like, well, do I have to be there? Because he's 19. I was just curious. He was like, well,
Yeah.
no, you don't have to be there. But
He wants you there.
I would like, yeah. And that was like those moments are, I'm just like, what? Like, because there's a phase definitely where they're pushing you out of everything. Like, don't want to be seen with you, don't want to bring friends over, kind of stay out of the way. And it's almost like this kind of 19 post high school being invited back in to the fold, which has been, I look forward to what I hear you all doing,
Yeah.
going out for overnights at the beach and drinks and concerts and whatnot. It's just it's a cool experience.
Yeah, going out with your kids it's
funny.
interesting. Yeah. I was just thinking of St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah.
Seeing your
And,
kid tipsy, what's that like?
Oh, tipsy and full on trying to Irish jig on pavement with Birkenstocks on
Oh my gosh.
I've not seen
And-
that.
and still complaining about how sore his legs are today. And I said, well, you can't you all left before it got really wild with all the U of O students that trickled in and made huge
Yeah.
circles and were attempting to jig and do it was very, very entertaining. But yeah, Sean was having a ball. It was interesting. It was fun.
Yeah. All right. Quick opportunity. Does anyone have any particular questions that they're thinking of off the top of their head? Or are you still okay with me running through a few more?
You're doing a fabulous job.
We're good.
No.
Thanks.
I want to know what meal or like a meal associated with a tradition, or what is something that as when you're kids were little that you would cook or bake that as adults, when they come home or when they're wanting that comfort meal, that they say, Mom, will you make fill
Well,
in the dots?
well, you guys know for me that it's tuna and cheese biscuits. The boys
Mm,
ask me for that to this day. Every time I go to
really?
see them, they ask me to make that. Yes.
Oh, that is hilarious.
Yeah. That,
I'm offended. You've never like made it and shared it with us.
no, that.
Would you eat a tuna and cheese biscuit, Mo?
Probably not.
Have you guys ever had them? Did
I
Mom
haven't had
used to make
tuna in a
them?
long.
Yeah, when
Oh
Mom
She
used
used
to
to
yeah.
make
make
them.
them. Yeah.
Coming down to see
Mhm.
you in Seattle, you'd
Yeah.
make them all the
Yes.
time. Oh yeah.
That
I associate that with you.
and homemade calzone that I used to make. They love that.
Mm.
Aislinn asks for that every time I see her. She wants homemade calzone. Or like Beebs, you and I used to make the barbecue chicken quesadillas. They love
Oh,
those.
yes.
Those are
Yeah.
some of their
Yep.
favorites too. So I would say those three things are asked for the most. Yeah.
The calzone was so good.
So good.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's so good.
I'd say one thing that my daughter will ask for when I get a chance to see her in Alaska is a chicken recipe that my former mother-in-law made in the early years when I was living in Alaska. And I would always get so excited when I knew she was going to make it and we'd be invited over for dinner. So eventually the recipe got passed along to me and I started making it. It's well, I think Dolly, you probably have had it. The chicken with Monterey Jack cheese and cream of chicken soup and
This
croutons
tater
and butter.
tots.
No,
Oh,
not
okay.
tater tot. No, it's the chicken
Croutons.
cheese. It has croutons on the very top
Yes, I
with a little
remember.
bit of butter drizzled over it. It's so
Yeah.
good.
So
And
healthy.
then the other thing is, well, I guess I would count this. They don't necessarily, it's not something they ask for with every visit, but it's become the tradition, the breakfast casserole. Usually Christmas time, Easter. Now my daughter has probably about 5 years ago, she asked me for the recipe. She now makes it. But yeah, it's a breakfast casserole that actually I don't remember how old we were when she started making it.
Yeah. I always remember her making it Easter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's been in the
Yeah,
family for a long time. So
a
that's
long
always,
time.
yep. And then a sweet treat they love are monster cookies.
Oh, we all
So
love the monster
the
cookies.
monster cookies, yep.
Mhm.
Favorite kind of cookie in the house. So try to make those on occasion.
I need that recipe.
It's in the Taste of Oregon cookbook.
Yep. Well,
Maggie?
for me, I'm trying to think because so many of Keenan's like food memories have to do with Nana because we
Mm.
lived with them when he was little. And as you all know, in the gene pool, the cooking gene missed me. I'm not a big cook.
Yeah.
But I would make a lot of simple dinners that Keenan loved, like um, French dip. Like that was his all-time
Yes.
favorite meal.
Yeah.
Little simple things like tortilla soup and stuff like that. But he has a lot of sentimental attachments to our holiday foods.
Yeah.
And also,
Mhm.
I would say to apple pie, to Nana's apple pie
Yeah.
is
Mhm.
definitely a big memory thing for him.
What about the chicken and dumplings? Isn't that something that mom would make?
Yes.
Is that?
Yeah. She made really good chicken and dumplings, and he
Mhm.
loved that. Yeah. So she did a lot of the cooking. I did a lot of other things when we all lived together.
Well, you're an amazing baker, Meg.
Yes.
I do like to bake. Yeah, I
Yes.
do like to bake.
That would kind of be my most familiar arena, baking rather than cooking. But yeah,
What's his sweet treat, Meg? Oh, apple pie. You said apple
Yeah.
pie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know. I think Khalil is kind of goes through phases. And the fact that I think that I cook quite a bit maybe takes the like surprise out of picking just kind of one thing. But one thing he'll always say yes to is chicken enchiladas, which I made this week
Mhm.
that he loves. And now he's kind of on an apple crisp fix once he tried that topping that Da loves with the oats. Now if he sees apples, he's asking for apple crisp. But he's kind of on a kick of these fried chicken wings are his latest kick. And it's like such a anytime
Deal?
you have to pour a whole bottle of oil and heat it up and then it sits on your oven for, I don't know, a month because am I going to use it again? Probably not. But do I want to walk it all the
Mm,
way out and toss it out somewhere? No.
Yeah.
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, that's kind of definitely one of his favorites for sure.
I
Yeah.
know I don't cook enough when my youngest will say, he'll come in and he'll say, "So what made you want to cook something tonight?"
Oh my
Said, "Well,
gosh.
it's your lucky night. You
Yeah.
have dinner."
Well, I think as a culture, we've associated, at least when we grew up, we had home cooked meals, and that was like everyone eats around the table because it'll prevent your
Mhm.
kids from being a drug addict. And so the
Mhm.
pressure
Yeah.
of that, it was like, like the
Yeah.
sociology around it all. But I mean,
Or now is to prevent them from ordering DoorDash,
Yeah.
well, yeah,
for their
but I think
dinner.
that is an inevitable, even, yeah, even when you cook. But I don't think there should be any shame around the gifts and talents that we all bring or how creative or whatever meal, big or small, just the
Mhm.
association. I mean, mom used to make children's pie, and that was just
Oh,
dough
Pie
slathered with
crust.
butter and yeah,
cinnamon
pie crust
sugar.
dough with cinnamon and sugar. But the memory of that, just the
So
associations
good.
with that is, yeah. All right, let's see. We talked about who pays the bills. Did we talk about that a little bit? Yeah. Oh, okay. What is one decision you made as a parent that you regret and take accountability for? And what is one decision you made as a parent that you are proud of and also take responsibility for?
Well, we've talked about this before. You guys know that I regret that I moved with two of my children to the East Coast back when they were younger. I think my two youngest were 9 and 14, and the older boys were 15, 17, and 21, I want to say. And I had met someone that was in the military after my marriage ended and moved to South Carolina for 4 years. And I knew at the time that it was not the right decision to make. And that's where you just know to trust your judgment, to trust that instinct, because I knew at the time that it was the wrong decision, but I still did it. And um, just broke the family up a little bit during those years because we weren't able to see each other very often. And the boys struggled with that were left back in Seattle. But they're all past it now. It's been a lot of years, and we've had the time and the space to grow our relationship since then. And I think the one thing that I am proud of is just the fact that I do have a great relationship with all my kids, that they're all doing well for the most part, that they're such kind, loving children. They're all just beautiful kids and have a love for me like that. Just, I don't know. I'm excited by it because they just love me so much, and that's such a special thing to have that bond with all of them. So we've grown a lot in the last 10 years, I want to say, to where we do have that closeness.
They're amazing kids.
Yeah.
Kids.
I
Adults
mean,
now.
yes.
Yeah, they're so fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
I need a few minutes to think. think so. Jump on in, Beebs or Meg.
Well, I'll go if you want.
Yeah.
I would say one of the decisions that I'm proudest of, that really impacted Keenan's life the most was the fact that I moved home when he was born. And I didn't anticipate doing that. I was going to stay in Portland where he would have been raised in a little apartment in the middle of the city. And I know that he would have been a totally different child had he not had Nana and Papa there to help me raise him.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I feel really proud about that decision. One that I'm not so proud of is the fact that I ended up meeting a man when Keenan was 3 and, we dated. He was a good guy and whatnot, but it wasn't a perfect situation and we ended up getting married. And, we both had children that did not mesh well. And so there was a lot of pressure on Keenan and he didn't like it. And not that you should do everything your kids like, but ultimately I didn't like it either. And I've told him, and I've apologized. And now he's like, Mom, it's okay. You did what you did at the time. And yeah, but it was a 4-year marriage, but with a lot of years of dating in there too. So I feel bad and guilty about the time that it took away from Keenan and myself, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think for me, my biggest regret, very similar to you two, and I think what it boils down to was that I stopped trusting myself, and I put my trust in a man. Really, like I did not set the bar like super high, and I think a lot of my unhealed work played into bringing really unhealthy people into my life and therefore Khalil's life. And I'll never forget when we went into our second confidential shelter, I had to take a long look in the mirror because there was so much shame and so much just humiliation. Like I could not believe that I was in a situation again where I just completely like handed over the keys to my life and Khalil's life. It's gonna make me sad. But from that time, he was 10 years old, and we were in a second confidential shelter, uprooted, homeless, fleeing an unsafe environment. And we were walking out of church, and he was skipping along. And I just remember looking at him and kind of sitting down and apologizing to him because what I realized was he had not ever seen an example of what healthy love looked like from me. And it made me realize that I didn't know what healthy love even looked or felt like. And so it was kind of in that moment, the biggest regret and also what I'm most proud of is that, I told him from that moment on that I was going to be focusing on just him and myself, and I would not be introducing him because our kids end up building relationships with whomever we bring into their lives, and that can be quite devastating when things fall apart. And I started choosing myself, and I was single by choice for a good like 5 years. And yeah, started going to therapy and kind of just that notion of what is in Khalil's best interest became like the mantra for me. It's like I pivoted from trusting externally to trusting internally. And I'm still on that rebuild because as you all know, the breakdown can kind of knock you out. It takes a while to build back from. And I was like, I'm never putting myself in that situation again or my child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to learn to trust yourself again instead of leaning on
Yes.
somebody else or trusting somebody else. I did the same
Yeah, and it's
thing.
really hard to do, I think, when you're trying to make it
Mhm.
work, because having help from another adult in the home, regardless of what it might, if someone's running a carpool or someone's cooking a meal, I think as a parent,
Yeah.
that, being out of the state, not having a ton of support, like it just, yeah, it can unfold in not the best ways. Mo, you want to add? So you're along these lines too?
I am. Yeah, very much so in terms of the regret. Probably 13 years ago, within a couple of years after my divorce, I was in a long distance relationship with someone who knew how badly I wanted to move back here to Oregon from Alaska. And of course, my youngest, I think, was 9 at the time. The next one up did not want to move because he was starting high school. And so a lot of my thinking was around, when is the best time to move with having 4 kids? And so the first attempt coincided with this long distance relationship with someone who kind of barreled in with all kinds of ideas on how to address, the visitation and the custody with the kids. And I allowed myself to, I guess, be talked into a possible situation that I knew my ex wouldn't go for, but the plan backfired on me, and he was ready to keep the boys full time and allow me to leave. And of course, looking back now, I think, how in the world did I allow myself to be in that situation and be talked into a crazy idea in order to move? So I came very close to uh, losing the kids had my ex-husband not, been agreeable and in my panic state saying, I'm not moving, I'm going to stay here, we're going to keep things as is. So that was, like I said, about 13 years ago. So I stayed in Alaska for another 5 years. And that leads me to probably my proud moment was um, moving from Alaska to Oregon on my own
Yeah.
at a, decent sized house. I had to pretty much sell everything and moved with my youngest the summer before he was to start high school here in Springfield. And the next one up, who did not want to move, but had already graduated from high school up in Anchorage and was ready to transition to his initial plan out of high school, which actually was in Seattle at the time. So, and then my oldest son, Kale, he was kind of a no-brainer that he would come with me. So I moved 8 years ago now it's been back here to Oregon, and got my household completely repainted the inside of. I mean, when I think back about, you know, how much work it went into like getting a
Yeah.
house sold and the crazy logistics of emptying out a house and booking flights and where are you going to sleep, the night before you're supposed to get on the airplane, and how are those mattresses? I had a couple
Yeah.
of friends that were very helpful, and you Beebs, you and Dad
Yeah, we did. We
came
came up
up
there,
and
garage
yeah,
sale.
did garage sales. As much as I despise garage sales, I did 3 of them. So that was a huge, huge help having you and Dad come up. But with a lot of family support and, people up there to kind of finish emptying out the garage or whatever, it happened. So it was kind of a rough start for the youngest, but he adjusted, and it was amazing to be back around you all and family. So hard to leave the oldest in Alaska, but it was definitely a good move for the boys and I at the time.
Kind of crazy that all of our regrets have to do with a man, isn't it?
I was thinking that as I went into my story. That's
Yeah,
the common factor.
a not so great choice
Yeah.
in one. So lots to learn from that.
Yeah. Like, what was it that contributed to those decisions? Where we were in our life with
I'm
our
still
how we're
unpacking.
wired? Yeah,
Yeah, I
I
think
don't
some of
know.
it might I think some of it might be just I go back to that trusting of oneself as
Our
opposed to
childhood
something
issues. I
externally.
mean, it could
Could
be
be.
any number
Yeah.
of things. I
Yep.
haven't figured that out either, but the only thing you can do is learn and grow and move forward. And, had asked my kids for forgiveness too for some of the things they had witnessed and poor decision making I had made. Yeah. So,
Pretty strong group of women, that's what I see. I mean, it's hard to talk about your greatest regret as a parent. I actually have just kind of tossed that out to some parent friends up here while we've been percolating on this episode. And the response has been like, oh, Jesus, like, I don't, so many, like,
like,
where would I
with,
even start? Like,
Hmm.
yeah.
and how deeply we hold on to them. And I think the beauty is what we've all said when we acknowledge that and bring it up to our kids. I know in a moment, Khalil was like, oh, whatever, like, I love you, blah, blah. I mean, he did say, I don't want to meet anyone for a while. Like, that was a real,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but the honesty and the ability for young kids to see you, it's what my therapist said today. For your kid to be able to see you in your hurt and vulnerability teaches them that they can then hurt and be vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so true. I think that's such a gift for, our sons and our daughters.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
sure.
All righty.
Well, we've gotten through like the biggies, unless there's any last minute. I am curious, real quick, to know like what the biggest difference is for you all to be like parenting toddlers as opposed to adults. Do you have a preference?
Adults. Big time.
I miss parenting toddlers, and I miss when my kids were little, but I think I prefer parenting now that they're
Yeah.
older and we have grown up, mature relationships with each other. Yeah.
There are times that I still wonder, am I parenting an adult or a toddler in my home?
Yes. Yeah.
That's real.
Like,
That's real.
there's
Yeah.
definitely, I mean, I miss when they were little too. And some of the adult issues are heavy and get me really stressed out. So, I don't know.
I think the next step is that we just build a commune and invite all of our adult children back into the fold.
Yeah,
On a piece of
exactly.
property.
There
I
you
think that's
go.
the future. Well, that's what Khalil
Mhm.
said in other cultures. They all live intergenerationally.
Yeah.
And probably take care of their parents.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because
and
Meg and
grandparents. Yeah.
I only have one each.
One each. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe
And
you can
the-
borrow from Mo and I then
Yeah.
Okay.
when
Yes.
the time comes.
I would
Be reaching
happily
out.
offer.
Yes. All right, girls.
All right.
I love you.
right.
Love
I think
you.
you're
all.
incredible mothers.
Yes, we
Yes.
all are.
It's a tough journey, but we're doing
I'm
it.
from a long line of resilient women.
Yep.
So fucking lutely. Yeah. All right.
All right. Until the next
I'm
one.
going to end this. Until next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.